So good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Francisco Bueno. So I work for SiPearl. It's a real pleasure to be here today in this workshop. So the title of my talk may sound bold, but it reflects a simple truth. Europe cannot be digitally sovereign if it relies on others for its more strategic hardware. Today, I'd like to take you on a journey uh, one that starts with Europe growing dependence, continues with the geopolitical pressure shaping our choice, and ends with what we are building today to regain control on our digital future. Does it switch? Yes. So SiPearl was founded with a clear mission to return processor design through high performance energy efficiency design to European hands. Europe has extraordinary scientific and industrial capabilities, but it lacked was a sovereign hardware foundation. And we decide to build that foundation. We are not only simply designing chips. We are building an European ecosystem, an IC design house capable of delivering the processors that will power our supercomputers, our AI workloads, and our most critical data infrastructure. So to let you know that SiPearl is a truly European story, we were incorporated in 2019, seed funded by European Union, expanded rapidly in France, Spain, in Italy. We are close to 200 specialists internally, and many of us, we come from big companies like Intel, ARM, AMD, NVIDIA, and Nokia. We operate with a fabless model, and we will talk about that later, meaning that we focus only on the architecture and design, the brain of the processors. The manufacturing is done with one of the largest foundries in the world, so TSMC. And we already achieved two big milestones. The first one was our first step out in June 2025, so a couple of months ago, and two design wins for Europe exascale machines, one which is in Jupiter, so in Germany, and the other one is Alice Rocoq here in France. So when Europe builds these more powerful computers, it will do it with European CPUs. Next. Um, sorry. This timeline shows a unique momentum that rarely happens at the continental scale. It begins in 2017 when the EU launched a call for a European microprocessor, not as a theoretical exercise, but because Europe understood that without hardware, there is no sovereignty. The EPI consortium was created in 2018, and 1 year later, SiPearl was operational. We secure Horizon 2020 funding, won support from the EIC accelerator, and we closed 130 million Series A and achieve our first step out this year, as I mentioned previously. And very recently, EuroHPC selected our second generation processor called RIA2 for Alice Rocoq. So in less than a decade, Europe has gone from concern to action to tangible hardware. So it's very impressive to see that. So Riser for us is an essential part of Europe's vision for heterogeneous sovereign compute infrastructure. Our roles span multiple layers of this ecosystem. In WP3, we help integrate acceleration boards with ARM-based servers. In WP4 and 5, we contribute to firmware, system software, and host side drivers the invisible components that make heterogeneous boards actually work together. We also bring hardware into the project, so some rare one servers, which will support accelerator testing combined with RISC-V PCIe dollar cards. This is how Sovereign is built, not with isolated components, but by creating a complete interoperable European computing stack. So I want to emphasize this again because it's not the anchor of today's talk. Europe cannot secure its digital assets if it doesn't control the hardware they run on. Cloud certifications, cybersecurity frameworks, data regulation, they are all essential. But without sovereign processors, the foundations remain fragile. Why has sovereignty become such an urgent topic today? Because the world around us is changing faster than ever. First, the demand for computing power is exploding. AI models, medical simulation, climate research, defense system. We're at the beginning of a decade where compute becomes as essential as energy. Second point, geopolitics not directly impact technology. The US tightened AI chip export control affects EU countries. Europe is massively increasing its defense investment, and global AI funding has reached unprecedented levels. Sorry. Third, concern about supply chain vulnerabilities, backdoors, kill switches are no longer theoretical. In other words, Europe must be prepared not just to use technology, but also to control it. The good news is that Europe has shown extraordinary ambition. In 2018, Europe counted 94 supercomputers in the global top 500. Today, in 2025, the number has risen to 148, an impressive growth of more than 50%. And among the 10 most powerful machines in the world, 3 are in Europe. Jupiter in Germany is a 1 exaflop powerhouse. This momentum proves that Europe can lead when it commits to long-term vision. Beyond the numbers of machines, the real story is the growth power. In 2018, Europe had about 250 petaflops of performance. Today, it exceeds 4.7 exaflops, a nearly 20-fold increase in just 7 years. Such growth highlights a paradox. Europe invests massively in computing infrastructure, but until now, not in the processor that power them. So this map shows how widely distributed HPC capabilities across the continent. Germany, France, and Italy hold the largest clusters, but every country has something to contribute. And most systems belong to academia and research, meaning they support discoveries that shape our economic, our health, and climate strategy. These are not just machines, these are strategic assets. Now we arrive at the central issue. Europe consumes one-third of global HPC resources, yet it supplies only 1/20th of the hardware, and the percentage of European processors powering European supercomputers is zero. This is Europe's strategy vulnerability. We rely entirely on non-European CPUs for defense research, AI training, medical simulation, nuclear modeling, the most sensitive workloads imaginable. The question is not whether foreign processors are high quality. They are. The question is it sustainable for Europe to depend entirely on them. SiPearl exists to address this weakness. Today, Europe's strategy, defense, health, government, space, and weather focus is processed by processor, design, and control elsewhere. Tomorrow, with RIA-1 and our future products, Europe will run its most critical workloads on European processors, on European data centers, serving European supercomputers and AI factories. This is not just a technology shift, it's a sovereign shift. So to answer one question that is very frequent is why not build an advanced semiconductor fab in Europe? Because a cutting edge fab requires a lot of things. So the land, so it's like if you an airport sized area. It needs a huge investment between 20 to 40 billions, massive energy and water resources, a highly specialized workforce, and reinvestment every 18 months. Even for continents like Europe, this is not realistic in short term. So we do what the US does. We focus on design, the highest value part of the chain, and entrust manufacturing to partners like TSMC, which is today one of the best foundries in the world. This gives to Europe a sovereign design without the unrealistic burden of building its own advanced fabs. To talk more about our product, so RIA-1 is the result of Europe's ambition becoming reality. It is the most complex processor ever designed in Europe. I will give you some highlights. So it's 80 cores, 61 billion transistor. I'm not going to deep dive on the whole spec sheet, but RIA-1 is designed for HPC, for AI inference, but also with energy efficiency in mind, because the environment footprint of computing is becoming just as important as its raw performance. RIA-1 is now in production and sampling in early 2026. It will power Jupiter in Germany, and his successor, RIA-2, which is not here in the slide, will power Alice Rocoq here in France. So the two exascale cluster and European. But we are also preparing Europe for the next step with the launch of Athena-1, our first dual-use processor. So Athena-1 leverage the architecture. Athena-1 leverage the architecture of RIA-1, but offers more flexibility for industries like defense, aerospace, and government. It's quite the same configuration with new packaging and no HBM. So together, RIA-1 and Athena-1 mark the beginning of a family of sovereign European processors addressing HPC, AI, defense, and critical industry needs. And to conclude, I want to highlight something very important. Europe is not trying to copy anyone. It is building the computing foundation that reflects its own values: security, sustainability, strategic autonomy, and scientific excellence. We don't have to forget that. So thank you very much for your attention.